Guess who's back?
Hey, it's me.
Good morning, YouTube. Wow, this feels very foreign. I do feel like I need to apologize because it's been 3 months since I've put any content on YouTube, and I do feel extremely bad about that. But I have mentioned a few times that I ask questions about all the nursing things and whatnot, that TikTok is where I am. It's just easier, it's quicker, and it's just, I don't know, easy to get the point across really quickly. But I feel like I do owe quite a big video filled with lots of things. So I'm going to try my best to go back to graduating nursing school and sort of fill you in from there, and then applying for my grad program, working as a nurse now, and then also applying for your bachelor's because I start uni in literally 4 weeks. Ooh! Now, if you have been here for the long haul since before Mama became a nurse, you'll remember me sitting in this exact house posting about trying to get into uni, missing out by a couple of degrees on the stat test, of getting into uni that way, and then having to sign up for my ENs and apply for nursing school, not knowing how that would go, and then getting offered a spot and starting my EN diploma. So here we are, almost 6 months graduated and working as a nurse. Can you also believe that my baby boy is 9 months old today? How crazy is that? It's gone so fast, it's not even funny. Anyway, I'm sitting here this morning with a cuppa. It's just after 9. I've just taken the boys to school. And I thought, you know what? I got all my chores done on the weekend. I'm on a PM shift today, so I am going to go and rest for a bit in a while. But I thought, you know what? I've got plenty of time to just sit and chill today. I'm going to utilize it and film a YouTube video. So, okay, let's start with last year, finishing my ENs and the process from there and what happened. Now, I applied for grad programs in June, July. Everyone knew about that. I, obviously vlogged the whole lot. I got offered an interview the day I was on my way to my 36-week checkup to decide what was going to happen with the delivery of my baby. It's a long story. I had placenta previa and couldn't deliver naturally, so we had to book a cesarean, and I'd asked for them to wait until the very end just to see if things would change. They didn't. I had him via Caesar the week after. So at that point, I got the email, and I obviously arrived at the hospital, checked my phone and was like, oh my gosh, I've got an interview for a grad program. Interviews opened that Thursday and only ran for a week. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to go first thing Thursday, because if she's gonna tell me today that we're having this baby this week, it's either gonna be Thursday or Friday or early next week. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I don't need to reply back right now. Let's go to the appointment. We'll go from there. So I went to my appointment. I obviously told my obstetrician. She was really excited because she used to work at the hospital that I was interviewing for, which is how I met her, and she was my obstetrician for my first baby as well. So she'd moved hospitals, which is why I was at a different hospital. So I explained it to her. She knew how important it was to me, and she was like, I think we're fine to push on to next week. Why don't we book for Monday morning? And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is amazing. Tentatively though, if things changed, it could have been earlier, but we were just like, let's just book for Monday and go from there. So I think that sort of took a little bit of the stress off me, and I felt better. I was quite ill at the end of my pregnancy. I had lots of reflux, a lot of sickness again, so lots of crazy things going on. But anyway, so that was the plan. So I replied straight back to the email. You had to follow the link and book a spot. So I booked for the first thing that morning. So I think I was one of the first two to be interviewed for the grad program. So, in I waddled for my interview. They knew that I was pregnant because in my application I'd said that I was having another baby, but that I would be ready to go back to work in line with when the grad program started. So there was no secrets, and at the end of the day, it was just an interview. So if they knew that that wasn't going to work for them, then well, I wouldn't have got the job. So anyway, I interviewed. It was a really great interview. A lot of people asked me then, how did I prepare for the interview? I don't know. I didn't really. I just sort of did my application, like I answered all the questions in the application. I gave the best information that I could based on what they were asking. And you know, the hospital's values aligned with my values and the kind of nurse I wanted to be and the kind of care I wanted to give holistically. And I wrote my cover letter. It was the same cover letter that I'd used to get into uni. It basically just explained like my passion on a piece of paper, where I want to go, what I want to do, and why I think that working there would help me achieve that. I have only just learned about chat GPT currently, actually, from some patients that I have that gave me a really good rundown, because they said to me, oh, like you're studying, do you use do we use that? And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm so scared. Like, isn't that cheating? And blah, blah. And they're like, no, you can actually utilize it as a really good tool. You can, you know, upload your rubrics and say, I need to do an assignment based on this. Can you help me break it down and tell me roughly, like, what are they looking for? And so, I get asked a lot, did I use ChatGPT to create my cover letter and my application? And I can hands up say, as God is my witness, I have never, still to this point, I haven't even downloaded the app yet. I'm still just very apprehensive about it. But no, it was something that I created myself. I'm very good at being able to explain what I want to achieve, and I just made sure that my resume and my cover letter very clearly reflected that. And obviously, you know, it aspired to the job that I was applying for, because they said that they really loved my application and, you know, would love to interview me. And then when I was there, they also like went over things in my application as well, like being pregnant. So I knew that they actually read it. So anyway, I got asked questions about, you get given scenarios, you know, and the scenarios might be different every single day. So don't take anything literally what I tell you, but my scenarios on the day were things like, you know, how would you handle a blood transfusion? And basically it was like, you know, what documents would you look at to, you know, tell you what you needed to know? As an EN, what is your scope in that side of things? You know, what's the process? What's the procedure? Blah, 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 blah. So it's, you don't have to say it step by step, but it's being able to comfortably explain the clinical side of it and what needs to happen, what your job is as an EN, the process, the paperwork, working with your RN, all those sorts of things. Some of the questions were based on like past experience. Now they know that you've not worked as a nurse because you just started as an EN, so they don't expect you to have clinical knowledge as a nurse. But if you do as an AIN or a carer, then that's great. But some of the questions were along the lines of like, tell us a time in any of your previous jobs where you've needed to use like teamwork really well, or, you know, tell us a time where an error came up in your job and how did you go about it? How did you approach the situation? Blah, 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 blah. So things like that. There's no, like, these are the questions you'll get asked. They don't talk about this, rah, rah. It's different for everyone. A few of us, like obviously now I've met all the other grads, we've spoken about like, what questions did you get asked? And not all of us got asked the same questions. So you just got to take it like it doesn't go hand in hand. It's clinical knowledge, being comfortable with what you're saying. Don't say things that you think, because obviously if it's wrong, then it's going to be like, well, you don't really know what you're talking about. But comfortably knowing that for you to understand the correct procedure of a skill that needs to be done, there's going to be a policy and a procedure, you know, from the hospital, and that's what you need to go off, not what you've learned at school. Obviously you've got the skills that you learned from school, but the hospitals all have their own policies and procedures based on different things. Like at some hospitals, ENs can carry DD keys and they can be the first signature on a DD, you know, to like sign it out. They can physically check the drug and do all that. Where I work, I can't hold the keys and I'm always going to be the second checker, but I can still go to the bedside, but I can't handle the drugs and count them and do all that. I am the physical second checker. But I can do Schedule 4, so I can be a checker for Schedule 4s, but then I can take a Schedule 4 to the bedside by myself. So it's very different on where you work, and you've got to be very understanding and confident in the fact that you know that you need to go and find a policy and procedure if you are not 100% sure of what you're doing in that sense. So there was lots of questions about that. And then, you know, we said our CEs, they said good luck because they knew I'd moved my cesarean to go for my interview. And then that was it. I didn't hear anything for 6 weeks later. I went and had my baby. That was all great. And then they actually, I was gearing up. I don't know if you remember, it'll be in one of my vlogs somewhere, but I was gearing up to go to Denmark, which is 4.5 hours from where I live, with a 6-week-old baby, to go and do my final clinical placement. Now, I was at that point prepared to do whatever I had to because I really wanted to be able to get the grad program, which meant I needed to be registered with APRA as soon as possible. So anyway, I was gearing up to do that. I was going to buy like new uniforms because nothing really fit me. I was, organizing where are we going to stay? What are we going to do? Who's going to come with me? All this sort of stuff. I was very stressed. I was very upset, but I was just taking it in my stride. Then my school contacted me and said, good news, we've got a 2-week placement starting at one of the mental health hospitals on the 18th of November. Do you want that? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that means that then I can do 2 weeks now, then do 2 weeks at Fiona Stanley in January or wherever they were going to send me, and then that would be it. But I was like, that's amazing, I can just break it up. So I went and bought new uniforms, was getting prepared for that. The Thursday before, they cancelled. And I was just distraught. I was like, I'm just gonna have to go to Denmark. This is literally it. So at that point, I was prepared to just like pack up the car. Hubby was gonna take a few days off work, so I could just go, get settled in, meet the people, find out what the rostering was like, and then let them know my situation and see what we could work out from there. Whether it was like, I could work the weekends as well, so I could have a few days off during the week to like come home, or just whatever it was. So that's what we were prepared to do. Then the grad program people rung me and said, is there any chance you can come in tomorrow? So this must have been a Wednesday. That's right. It was a Wednesday that they called and cancelled, and it was like 2 days before the end of the week when I was going to be starting. They said, look, we love you. We love what you stand for. We love your passion. However, we've mentioned before that we don't do an ONG, so obstetric gynecology or maternity care program for ENs. However, we have been considering for a long time to recommence that program. We needed to rewrite the program. We needed to do a few things, and it's all sort of been in the works. How would you like to come and re-interview with the ONG manager for a potential spot in ONG? And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, yes, when do you want me? And she was like, can you come tomorrow? I said, that's fine, I'll just have to bring Bub. They were like, that's completely fine. Bearing in mind, I just had a baby, so they were gonna be pretty lenient. So anyway, got up the next morning, I got ready, packed us all in the car, went to the interview with my now manager because I am on private in the hospital, and then I'm rotating to public. So anyway, I went, I met the manager, we had a really good chat. She got an understanding of the kind of person that I am, what I want to achieve, would I be a good fit, that sort of thing. And then they sort of said, all right, we'll be in touch. And then, so that was the Thursday. And then on the Friday, I got the phone call offering me the obstetric gynecology EN position. They said, we interviewed 6 of you, we've given 2 of you a spot, you'll just rotate between the 2 of you on public and private. And alas, the videos on TikTok of me getting the phone calls and stuff, and I bawled my eyes out. I was just so ecstatic because the phone call then went from that to actually also the grad manager wants to speak to you. And I was like, okay. So then they put me through to her, and she goes, look, we understand your situation at the moment. We know you're trying to do everything you can, but we sort of took it a little bit beyond ourselves, knowing that we were going to offer you a spot to see if there was anything we could do to help with your final clinical hours. Now, we've had a meeting with the maternity ward manager and the facilitators and everyone else, and we have agreed that we would like to host you for your placement starting on Monday. And I was just like in tears. I just burst into tears. I was just like, I didn't even care that it was going to be 4 weeks full time. I was like, we will figure it out. But the fact I don't have to now leave my toddler and my husband and go 4.5 hours away from home with my newborn baby, I was just like, yes, I'll do anything. Thank you so much. So very, very grateful. So then I went and I did my final clinical placement, and I had the best time. I literally cried like every day. I was just so happy. It was obviously exhausting. I was only 8 weeks postpartum from a cesarean as well. So I was very like, rough around the edges some days, but the whole team was just amazing. Everyone was so supportive. I got to go down and watch cesareans and was just like mind blown. Like the very first one, I was very like legs crossed watching like, oh my gosh, because I just had another one. But, you know, seeing it from the other side of the fence was just, it gave me, even though I'd been through it, it gave me an even bigger understanding of what us females really go through, you know, to not only be pregnant, but to deliver our babies as well. So it was the best 4 weeks of my life. I could not wait to be back working there, knowing that I wasn't going to be on that ward, but I am rotating back to there in a couple of weeks. So I'm very, very excited. And I've like caught up with all the girls, I've met all the new people, and I really am just loving where I am. Everything really did just work out the way that it was supposed to. So I'm very, very grateful. So that's where we kind of stand with the whole grad program situation. So I definitely urge you to apply. I don't let people say like it's like winning the lotto and stuff. Yes, it is. But if you're very confident and strong in your application, then like there's no reason why you wouldn't at least even get an interview. The things you need to remember is that with the public hospitals, you have to apply through Grad Connect. So that's a website. You literally Google Grad Connect and it will come up. You make a profile, you can set reminders, all the rest of it, but they open in March every year. So regardless of whether you're in semester 1 in March and you know that, or like you might just be finishing semester 1 or you've just started semester 2, there's no reason why you shouldn't apply, because if you're at the beginning of semester 2 and it's March, then well and truly you should be finished at the end of the year, and Grad Connect jobs usually start in February, so you've got enough time. As long as all your placements and stuff line up, you generally have enough time to get registered and do all of that. Like everyone's been doing this for years, so don't be frightened of that. You have to apply at the beginning of every year for the next year's intake, and you obviously allot that when you're doing it. So it will say, are you applying for intake in August this year or for February 2026 or whatever. So you obviously select that. And then when you're doing your application, obviously you're going to elaborate on the fact that you are currently a nursing student and that your goal is to enter a grad program and that you want to specialize in X, Y, and Z, but you're happy to get a foot in the door. And you obviously talk about why it's important that you feel like you need to go down that route. And, you know, obviously they have a million specialties available. So Grad Connect is much easier for that. You also get to then preference your hospitals you want to work at. So then God forbid you don't get your first option, the second hospital might take you, or even the third one, or they may offer you something that's like, hey, you didn't apply for this one, but we've got this position available. So, you know, there's lots of options. Then you've got your smaller private hospitals. So Ramsay Health does their applications in like June, July. So you will apply for either a grad starting in August or for a grad starting in February. So, you know, you've got those that you need to keep on your radar. You've got HealthScope, which I think is Mount Spey Hospital. So they also open June, July, or even April, I think, and you would apply either starting in August or starting in February. So these are just things that you need to research. You need to find the information. It's all well and good to be like messaging people online and stuff that you see. Like I get messages every day asking about grad programs. How do I apply? Where do I find the information? I think this is something that a lot of the schools and facilities are really lacking on giving the information. I can't speak on university because I haven't got there yet, but from what I know, I was there for 18 months and no one ever had a chat with us about applying for grad programs. It was like, oh, we'll do it in the end, like in your last semester. Yep, cool. That was too late. We literally graduated like August, September, and like that was it. Everyone had to wait another year from there. So I was just lucky that I'd done the information, that I, you know, found all the things, and I always shared it with my classmates and said, if you want to go to uni, you need to apply now. If you want to do this, you need to apply now. So, you know, it's just, you need to use some initiative and research these things, find the dates, put them on your calendar, set yourself, you know, it might say, you know, positions, applications open in March. Cool, set a reminder for like that last week of February. Make sure you've got your cover letter ready to go, your resume ready to go, so that when it opens, you can literally just do your application, upload all your documents, bang, straight through. You know, it might take 6 weeks to even hear anything, but at least you're on the ball and you know what you're looking for, rather than sitting back waiting for somebody to come to you, give you the information, and then you're like, oh, I've missed out for this year. Now I can't apply until next year, which for the year after. Well, it is what it is. You've got 2 years once you graduate to get a grad program if that's the way you want to go, or you just start applying to the hospitals directly and tell them that you're a new grad and that you didn't get a grad program, but you really want to try work in X, Y, and Z. There's always going to be something. You're always going to get a job. You just have to be proactive. That's my biggest key. Okay, so anyway, enough on grad programs. I feel like that's given you a good amount of information for that. So then, yeah, working as a grad, amazing. I've had the best experience. I'm so grateful for my team. I really feel like I belong, and I can't wait to rotate now and get another taste of the public sector as an actual qualified nurse with 6 months experience under my belt, because last time I worked on this ward, I was a student. So I really can't wait to go and not only like prove my capabilities, but just show that I do belong in that field as well. So I'm very excited for that. So then uni came around. And I'm gonna have some toast. Okay, sorry, I just needed to have a little toast break and drink some of my coffee. And I just decided during that I was going to sign up to Adobe Acrobat and start downloading it on my Mac, because that was the next thing that I needed to do on my list. So anyway, university. So I had also, at the end of the year, whilst finishing placement and doing all of those things, I had also applied to ECU for the double bachelor of nursing and midwifery. So this was sort of like my backup option, was like, well, everything that I'd done so far was for me to get into university. So, you know, there's no harm in trying and applying. Now, so it would have been January that I applied, because I had to have my upper registration. So I think I got registered on like the 14th of Jan, and then I was like, okay, perfect. I got the grad program, but let's just apply anyway and see what happens, because, you know, anything can happen, anything can change. I also may not get in. So there's that. So I would have been like a last minute applier, because obviously uni started in February. So I would have been like the last round of offers. So I applied, and 2 days later got an email saying, you know, this is a very competitive course. There is little to no spots left. So once the first census is done, you know, people accepting their offers and stuff, we will let you know. And then 2 days later, I got offered a spot, and I was just so excited, because I was like, I've done it. I've made it into university. Knowing that I had to either defer or reject, it was still like a sense of solace knowing that I could do it now. And that was the biggest thing for me. So I replied to the emails, I accepted to defer, and then I filled out the thing saying, you know, I've also been offered a grad program, so I would love to potentially be able to start the nursing units come July, and then pick up midwifery next year, because you've got 6 months to start your midwifery units once you actually start uni. So that's what I did. And then they came back and said, we're so sorry, because it's an automated, you know, accept, reject, defer email that you get when you apply for any course. Unfortunately, the double bachelor, you can't defer, so you need to reject and reapply when you're ready. So I was like, that's completely fine, you know, it is what it is. So I rejected it, but was still just like, you know, I can't believe I got into uni and I got a grad program. So I was feeling very on cloud nine. So then, you know, I started my job. I've just spent the last few months like getting into the realm of like working, having kids. Ollie, my baby, is quite a sick baby compared, like he's happy, he's healthy in that sense, but he had bronchiolitis at 6 weeks old, and he had a little bit of breathing troubles when he was born. So unfortunately now, if he gets any kind of little virus and stuff, he gets very ill. So now we've just spent a couple of days in hospital last week again. So hopefully we're on a better path now, but it's been very up and down. It's been very hard trying to organize the logistics of children, daycare, paying for daycare when they can't go because you don't get a discount, you don't not pay if they don't go regardless. Trying to work, having extra babysitters. Both my mum and my mother-in-law have had major surgeries. So usually the boys would spend time with them during the weeks and stuff, but that's also, you know, not an option now too. So my mum is able to have them, you know, for a day here and there, but it's a lot for her too. So she's still recovering and, you know, needs a little bit of help as well. So it's been quite difficult in that sense, but I'm still grateful that we've got, you know, options that we can fall back on. Otherwise, you know, my husband's work can be a bit flexible when they have staff, which they don't at the moment. So that's been a bit difficult. And then also my work, you know, as well, I can take carers leave and things like that. So I hate doing that, but at the absolute, you know, only option, then there's that too. So it's kind of nice. And I have had quite a few weekends where I've been scheduled to work like 4 days straight, and then I've ended up getting 2 of those days off because it was quiet enough on the ward, and you know, they'd ring and be like, hey, do you want public holiday leave? So you know, it's quite nice when that happens. And I do try to take advantage of that when I can, because I'm like, well, if I'm not needed, then you know, I can spend time with my family, so that's nice. So anyway, that's just how those things are sort of been working out. And then yeah, we sort of got to like April, May, and I knew that applications for uni were opening, and I was like, what do I do? Because there was nothing ever in my contract saying that I couldn't go to uni at the same time as doing my grad, but it was just not advised. So it was more in the sense of like a work-life balance thing, right? But I'd been doing really well on the ward, and other than my time management on, you know, my actual shifts and stuff, which is something that comes with nursing, there's been, you know, no issues, touch wood. I've just done my 90-day review, and everything's been really great. I fit really well. I'm really excited to, you know, continue my journey there. So I sort of called a meeting and went to the grad coordinators and stuff and said, look, I know that you guys want us to wait until next year. However, doing my own research, I've now found out that the EN to RN conversion program that they offer is, you know, with an online uni, so Charles Darwin, and it used to be that grads would get first pick. And there might be 10 to 12 grads that want to convert depending on how many ENs they've taken on. Since last year though, they've now opened this up to the whole hospital. So at the beginning of every year, any EN in the hospital that has now decided that they want to convert can apply for this program, and it's like, you know, 50 odd people can apply. There's only going to be 10 spots or something that are given. So the point of doing the program alongside the hospital is that you do all of your, you know, stuff online, and you work as a nurse so that you're obviously working while you're converting, and you're able to then, you know, practice your skills and do those things. You'll do like block simulations, which is actually at IHNA. Like CDU has a contract with them, so you go upstairs and use the labs there. So that's where you go for all your exams and stuff. And then all of your placements are guaranteed to be through the hospital that you're working with, you know, or one of their attachments. So there's a couple of hospitals under that same umbrella. So, you know, that's sort of like the benefits of that, plus having the support of having your grad coordinators on site and all the rest of it. Plus you're in your second year as a grad. So you've had like your foundation year, you've sort of like, you know, consolidated all of your knowledge. You've had that time to see what you like, see where you need to improve. You might now have an area that you want to work in. And then, yeah, you would have the opportunity to apply for uni from there. So for me, I felt ready to take the next step because I've had this whole year so far to work in the field that I want to work in, being a midwife, and I've been able to cement the fact that that's where I want to be. So I definitely want to convert to RN because I want to precept and I want to teach, and I want to have that option later on to be able to lecture and do those things, you know, further into the future. So I just feel like I needed to have, you know, the best possible chance at doing that. So I am now going down the pathway of converting to registered nurse, which will take me 2 years full time. And then after that, I will be applying for a postgrad diploma through my hospital. Fingers crossed, because it is very competitive, but the hopes would be that I apply for it. If I'm lucky enough to get a spot, basically you get put through a university in Melbourne to do all of your learning and everything. You go a couple of times a year, but you're paid as a student midwife to complete 6 shifts a fortnight as a student on the job, because you're doing a postgrad diploma. So it's amazing. It's just such an amazing opportunity. So I'm so glad that I've sort of like taken step by step to go into it, because initially it was like, gung-ho, I'm going for the double bachelor, didn't get into uni, then was like, perfect, I need to rein back and see how do I do this. Went through doing my ENs, now I get to do my RNs, and then that. So in total, it will probably be a good, I want to say 5 years, 6 years, just in case anything sort of comes up and happens in there, but 6 years from start to finish, which means that by the time I graduate as a midwife, I will be a level 1.2 RN, because I will have been an RN for 2 years, but I will also be, because it goes from when you started working as a nurse, so I will be a 1.5. So that's kind of nice because I'll have 5 years experience, which means that even though I'm starting as a midwife at that point, I go in as a 1.5 on the pay module. So that's really cool. That's kind of nice, you know, financially, but also I feel like I will have well and truly have earned that by that stage. So uni, the application, again, I literally used the same cover letter and the same resume for my uni application, and then answered all of the uni questions per se to uni, and all I changed in my cover letter was that, you know, I am now working as a grad because I hadn't had that when I was applying before, and that actually, it's a funny story. So when I applied, I uploaded the same resume and the same application, right? And I got an email back, like applications had just opened, so it was like first round of offers would be going out in a couple of weeks. So it was like, yeah, March that I applied. April, because then May they started sending out offers. So I did that, and one night I was laying there and I'm thinking to myself, so how's ECU gonna know that since I applied last time, I've now got a graduate position, that I'm working in O&G, that, you know, I'm doing really well? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't update my resume and my application letter, my cover letter. So I like bounced out of bed at midnight, came and sat out. I hadn't got my new laptop yet, so I was still on my old laptop that, you know, was on its last legs. And I'm trying to like I was beating the clock, update my cover letter to say that, you know, since I last applied, blah, 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 and then updating my resume to say that I'm now, like, this is now where I work, this is my job description, this is what I do, and then like updated my little resume blurb to say that, like, you know, the next step for me is this. So then what I did was I went in and, like, because you can still edit your application or withdraw it, so I added the extra documents. I didn't delete the old ones, I just added them. Then I emailed the application, like, admin email, and just said, like, I understand if it's too late in the process, but I got the email saying that, like, you know, it's a very competitive course and that I may miss out because I've already rejected an offer this year, blah, 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 blah. I was like, but, you know, I just want them to see the difference between when I first applied and what I'm up to now, so that they can see that, like, I need this, like, this is the next step for me. So then I like added the new things, sent it off, and just thought, you know what, even if no one reads it, like, it doesn't matter, at least I tried. And then for days I was just so, like, mopey because I was like, I've ruined my spot. Anyway, then I started seeing people saying that they were getting offers, and I was just like, okay, like, you know, happy for them sort of thing. Was like, wonder how mine's gonna go. Then I was on a PM shift and I saw an email pop up on my phone, and all I could see was that it was from ECU, and it was like, open here, it was like, open for result of application, whatever it said. I was just like, bah! And I threw my phone on the desk, and my coordinator was like, what's wrong? And I was like, my ECU, I don't know, I'm scared. And she picked up my phone and was like, unfortunately at this time we, and like, I was just like, no. And then she's like, no, I'm joking. She's like, you have to unlock your phone. So I like scanned my face, and then she opened it, and she was like, she looked at me and was like, you got in. And I just like cried. I was so happy. I was just like, I can't believe it. And everyone there knew that I was waiting to hear. You know, everyone's known since the beginning, like, I'm going to convert, I'm going to do my conversion. Everyone's like, you're crazy. And I was like, I know, but I'm so excited. Everyone was super supportive. So to like get the email whilst I was at work was the best. And then I was like, I don't want to tell my husband yet. Like, I don't want to, I was like, I want to tell him when I see him. So my plan then was that the next day was going to be Friday. So on my way to work for my PM shift, I was going to stop at the uni and go and buy like my, you know, ECU hoodie. And then I was going to, on the Saturday morning, because we would all be at home together, like, wake up and then go and change into my hoodie and then just come out and be like, surprise. But, you know, typical ADHD, and I can't keep a secret. So I ended up FaceTiming him on my break and was just like, guess who's going to uni? And he was like, like, he was so excited for me because he knows like how much I've been waiting for this. So it was just really, really cool. Like, just super exciting. And yeah, just being able to share that with my family and stuff. And everyone was like, this is just incredible. Like, you're amazing. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know, I'm a sucker for punishment. So anyway, I've obviously been like preparing, getting myself ready. You can probably see here that I'm in a very different background situation to the last time I would have been filming vlogs, because we did a study upgrade for myself. So I am in the same corner, but I used to sit this way with my desk in front of me, and now I've moved everything to the back wall. I've got new desks, so I'll insert some little clips so you can see what it looks like. And then I've also done more since, so you can see here I've got this guy hanging. I just had an ADHD moment yesterday. It was just me and the baby home by ourselves, and so I went to Bunnings and got a hook, and I've hung my big beautiful plant from the roof. Anyway, I've got a big, beautiful space. Obviously, I've got the big windows there. We've just redone the veggie garden. So, you know, that's all gonna sprout and be nice. And I've just got this really nice, bright space to study. I did get my timetable. Just pluck it off the wall. So obviously, the hardest thing I found actually was like logging into all the portals, finding all the bits and pieces, and it would say, you know, like, click here for, you know, or it would have like a brief timetable of like the whole registered nurse course, like the Bachelor of Nursing. And then it would say on the bottom with like little asterisks, if you have credits, you need to follow pathway 2. If you are converting from enrolled nurse diploma, follow pathway 3. But then there was no like links to click, or like there was just nothing. I was like, where do I find this pathway thing? Anyway, my best friend came up and stayed with us for a couple of days, and she actually was one of them that helped ECU revamp their logo. She works for that company that does all the marketing. So I was like, can you come and just sit with me? Because you know, sometimes if someone's sitting there and you're complaining like this isn't working, it'll work because they're there. Anyway, all I did was like moved my mouse, and it sort of hovered on the screen and like made the document go smaller, and there was more pages on the side. But it wasn't like I hadn't scrolled, because I had scrolled. It was that there was extra documents in that link. So then you had to click into the document, scroll through those pages, go to the next one. Anyway, so then we found what I was looking for. So this is the enrolled nurse diploma with current ARPA registration starting semester 2. And then it gives me like a whole list of all the credits that I've got prior recognition for. And then it shows where I start. So the blue is the units that I'll be doing when I start. So going into it from an EN to an RN, you're 1 prac ahead and 1 unit behind. So you have to do 2 human process units. So that could be on like anatomy and physiology, pharmacology, you know, all that sort of stuff. And usually you can't do 2 of those at the same time. So you would do 1, pass that, and then the next semester you would do the next one and keep going. But because I'm ahead in prac and behind in 1 unit, to catch up, we have to, so we don't have prac for the first semester. So then you do 4 units, and that's full time. So I could just do 2, but I figured, you know what? If I'm diving straight to the bottom, and I may as well just do the extra unit now, and then pretty much from next semester, I'm just like free flow with everyone else. So I've actually got a couple of friends that have been studying, and they're going into stage 3, so stage 3 is like your 3rd semester of your nursing degree, and that's where I'm starting. So I'll actually be with them, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm extremely excited, extremely nervous. But if all goes to plan and I can keep at it full time, I should be, finishing up in July 2027. So that's wild. So wild. And then I'll just work as an RN for the rest of that year, because then the postgrad diploma will always start at the beginning of the year. So that's fine. So I've got my little timetable pinned up on my wall. And then to help get myself organized as well, I got a beautiful A3 wall calendar that's actually July this year to the end of 2026. So it's adorable. It was just from Kmart. But so it's got July to December, and then January to the following December, and each month has a cute little flower on it. So anyway, I've got that to hang up on my wall so that I can use this for writing down all my assignments that are due, and then I can just have it open and be able to just like have a quick glance at that. I have also got a written planner again. Obviously I haven't bothered for this year because I was just working. So I just had all of my shifts in my like work app, and then I use Shifto as well. So that just gives me an easier overview of like, am I working this weekend? Am I on AMs, PMs? So then I went and got a same thing, 25 to 26 planner. So this starts for July. So now that I've got an idea of like when I start orientation, and I've got a few shifts for July already, so I can start now filling that out and my calendar. I also got just some super cute notebooks. I'm probably mostly going to use my iPad anyway for annotation like I did when I was doing my ENs, but it's nice to always have a notebook just for like if I'm feeling a bit flustered or for whatever reason my iPad's not like cooperating that day, I can just convert to pen and note paper. So that's it as far as that goes. I feel like we'll probably leave it there so I can get you guys caught up. And then from there, if there's any questions you want me to delve into based off anything that I've just sort of said, let me know. I think the biggest things I still get asked to this day are from those of you going into your EN diploma is like, how can I prepare? What can I buy to get ready? The school will give you all the information that you need, but like me, I like to be very organized. They don't give you everything up front, which is a bit frustrating, but it's because you don't need everything straight away. So like you can go and buy your uniform so that you can rock up on your first day in uniform. That's great. I think about 80% of the class did that. So, you know, they'll tell you the name of the uniform shop and you literally just go there and you try them on and you buy them. They do have two different types. I recommend getting the newer, the more expensive version. I think it's about like $100 to buy the set. They're much nicer. And then, you know, you can get yourself like an anatomy and physiology book to like start. I bought this one. So it's the Alice Roberts Complete Human Body. And I absolutely love this. As you can see, it's gotten me through lots of study and lots of exams. I just like it because everything is so intricate and like, it's just, I don't know, being able to go through and actually see how things work properly and see what it actually looks like inside the body was absolutely incredible. I think I'll keep this book for a very, very long time. I was trying to find the reproductive system one because it's so cool. But anyway, look, there's the inside of a bone and how it works. So anyway, that is my beautiful, I call this my coffee table anatomy physiology book, and this stands up on my desk and it always catches people's eye as soon as they come to the house. I find people always gravitate towards it and want to go and see it. This was $65, but I will show you the books that they recommend for you to get when you are starting your diploma. Okay, we'll just do a little like, here's what you can get. So enurse.com is where you want to go for all of your kit, okay? You can get a basic stethoscope and a sphygmomanometer, which is the blood pressure cuff that you use to learn your BP. And I highly suggest that when your teachers tell you to get very confident in practicing your manual blood pressure, listen to them. Because yes, we use Dynamaps in the hospitals, but I wear my stethoscope on my neck every single day and I use it a minimum at least once a day if I'm just doing gynae patients. Sometimes some women have really low blood pressure and you can't get a proper reading on the machine because it tells you need to met call, but you know that they're alert and orientated, they're verbalizing, they're eating, they're drinking. Okay, let me just do a manual, get a proper reading and just consistently do it that way. But then also when I do baby obs, I could do 5 or 6 a shift plus 2 or 3 times per baby. And everything is done through stethoscope, breast rate and heart rate. So yeah, get really good at learning how to listen through a stethoscope and what you're listening for. So that's what you can get. You can also get, all the other little bits and pieces that you need. Like, here's another notebook that I bought. What else? So your actual nursing, like clinical theory and practice books is going to be the Tabner's books. Now, don't throw your books around like that. I swore that I heard somewhere that Booktopia was going into administration. Booktopia is one of the best places online in Australia to order your nursing text, or just any textbooks or any books that you read, because they usually have really good sales and they ship to you as well. And so if you get the ones that have the Elsevier printing logo on it, you also get the digital copy, which I've got all these on my iPad and it's really cool. Some of them, it's not a digital copy, it is a extra resources. So you get the ebook version of your book, more resources and multimedia resources as well. So that's really good to do. So I've got them in the app on my laptop, I believe. I think it's the Elsevier app. Let me check. Yeah, Elsevier ebooks. So I don't know if you can kind of see, but basically it's not going to be super clear. But you open the app and then you go to your library, and every book that you've bought that you've added in from here. So I didn't realize, but I have both of them. So because this book is broken up into 2 volumes, when you then download it onto your iPad, it's going to be like a gajillion pages. Clearly I was searching on Dancetron right here. Yeah, it's going to be about 1,500 pages. Yeah, which is both books, because this book is about 700 pages and then the other one would be the rest. So it goes into there as one book, because obviously it's infinite pages, and then you can just search what you're looking for. And then it also came with a clinical skills book, which I always tell people is one of the best things that you could get. Okay, let's just obliterate all my stuff down here. So I bought mine as a pack from Booktopia, and it came with the books broken up into volume 1, volume 2. Otherwise, some of them you buy and it actually comes as one huge book. Try carrying that around every day. But then it also came with this essential enrolled nursing skills book. Now, this is actually what the teachers have as like their marking guide. So when they're teaching you things, they will go through this to make sure that they have taught you basically step by step. Let me show you as an example. Okay, so pressure injury risk assessment. So it's gonna like basically go through the frameworks of decision making, the skill activities. So identifying indications and rationale for performing the activity, and then you know, it gives them a rationale of things that you could do, explaining the communication, identifying things, gaining consent, performing hand hygiene. So it literally gives them the step-by-step clinical skills thing that it's the matrix, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it literally has in there the competency elements. So what are you looking for, the criterion evidence, and then how it gets marked. So that is really, really good to have, because you can always go through that and see step by step. Those tables will always be printed out on your things as like an index of this is how we're marking. So that was great. Probably one of those resources that like it came for free, so I was like cool, whatever, but was definitely underrated, so it was awesome. Now the anatomy and physiology textbook that the school will recommend you to get is this Ross and Wilson's one, and as you can see I have also well and truly used this. Now I am going to start doing some little mini refresher study sessions for myself to get my head into studying again. I know that uni is going to be very different, but little things like just going over anatomy and physiology, you know, and just sort of like, I don't know, refreshing my brain on how to take information, I guess. So those are the books that I recommend. And then, like I said, you can go on enurse.com and you can get all of your little nursing gidgets and gadgets and all the rest of it. You can get badge reels, you can get your scissors, your pen torch lights, everything's in my bag that I use. But in the hospital you normally use the Injectables Handbook for Australia and MIMS, or eMIMS they call it now, and they update those like every 6 months. So they are usually always in your med room, someone comes around and updates them constantly. But whilst learning, this one here, Harvard's Nursing Guide to Drugs, it's a little thick mini book, but it's absolutely incredible. You literally can find any medication in here, whether it's injectables, topicals, whatever it is, and it will go through everything with you. So how it's available, what the actions are, how to use it, the doses, adverse effects, any like interactions. So if they're on different medications, like why they need to avoid them. And then it will also give you these little keys of like, should only be used during pregnancy if the benefits outweigh the risks. So this was actually super helpful whilst being pregnant and having to go on a lot of meds. I was able to go through here and say, well, what does the book say? So I really love that as well. So Elsevier, if you can get that as a publishing one, you always get the free ebook version. So you can see I've also got that one on here too. And that was amazing for my assessments because I was able to search like a drug that, you know, it was asking me about, and then sort of see all of the available forms, how it works, nursing points and cautions. So I think online it actually gives you more information too. So definitely something to consider. But I'm definitely going to cut this video off here because otherwise I will sit here and talk all day. I need to go and, yeah, it's 10:30. 10:30 is my rest time until 12, and then I get up and start getting ready. So anyway, I am so happy to be back. I'm going to edit this video and get it up today, and I will hopefully see you a little bit more now that I can sort of get things a bit under control. But I hope you're all well. Please ask any questions. Come over and see me on TikTok. I'm always chatting there, or Instagram. That's where most people will message me anyway. So take it easy, all the best, and yeah, I'll hopefully see you guys a little bit soon.
Hey, it's me.